I mean, it was a showcase. They averaged 9 yards a pass and 6 yards a run and 475 yards and no turnovers and had the ball for 36 minutes. It was just one of those NFL games where everything clicks. You know, the kind Baltimore has every Sunday. Let me ask you, Cowboy fan, what took so long? All season we've been asking, where's the identity? What is Dallas? And yesterday they went all in on Zeke. And the great thing was, even when Zeke left the game, they went all in on Tony Pollard. They made a decision yesterday to pound the football. They have the best offensive line in the league. In a league, there are very few elite offensive lines. Zeke is probably best or second best running back in the league. But do you trust Dallas to do this 5 more times and win the Super Bowl? Because I don't. I've always struggled in life giving people huge credit for things they should do. You know, the old Chris Rock joke, I love my kids. Yeah, they're your kids. You're supposed to love your kids, right? Dallas ran the ball yesterday. Yes, you've got the best offensive line in Zeke. I'm not going to give you a ton of credit for that. It's what, week 16? You figured it out? Baltimore figured it out in week, I don't know, 2. You know, I mean, my takeaway is Troy Aikman was the face of the Cowboys, but he only threw it about 24 times because they had Emmitt Smith. They had a great offensive line. At that day and age, they didn't even have the best offensive line, arguably, in their division. Washington had a great O-line. But the truth is, they didn't depend on Aikman. But he was the face of the franchise. And I still think Dak's the face of the franchise. But when you have maybe the best offensive line in the NFL by a mile and Zeke, you have to start with physicality. This should be a physical football team. And too often they're clever and pretty and cute. And Dak's much better throwing on 2nd and 4 and 3rd and 1. Dak is much better on play action. And my question is, why did it take so long? I mean, listen, you know how many times I've watched the Cowboy game in the last 10 years? It's a highlight reel game. They beat a good team. They beat them handily. Everything clicks. It's unbelievable. Let's start with 7 times a year. But is it sustainable? Is it sustainable, tough, physical, pound it, point of attack football? I mean, this, you can't give them too much credit for figuring out the obvious. Just say it out loud. Yeah, I got this football team with a great running back who can run over people and a tremendous offensive line in a sport without many. You should be a physical football team, not giving you credit for it. In fact, if I was a Cowboy fan, I'd be discouraged this morning. I can still lose the division and miss the playoffs if I go next week to Philadelphia and lose a football game. Carson Wentz now is feeling it. Philadelphia is getting sort of healthy. I like their head coach. They've been a good big game team last several years. Cowboys can still miss the playoffs. You found your identity too late, and I don't think you can sustain it over the course of 5 games. I don't think you can duplicate it 6 times. I mean, tip of the cap, slow golf clap. Congratulations for that. Jerry Jones, he was just going crazy in the box. He ran down to talk to the media afterwards. Okay, Saints, they give me the same thing every week. Seattle, same thing every week. Green Bay, I've got my issues. Same thing every week. Dallas was awesome yesterday for 3.5 hours. Okay, going to Philadelphia, it's going to be cold, wet, sloppy, may, snow, hail. Try to duplicate it. I don't think you can. Let me shift to this. As they say on Twitter, don't at me. Russell Wilson's my MVP. Seattle is now the number 1 seed in the NFC. Seattle, Packers, Saints, Niners, Vikings. We don't need to talk about the Bears anymore. We don't need to talk about the Rams. We got all our teams. The only question is Dallas or Philadelphia. I don't know how they're the number 1 seed. Don't ask me how. Pro Football Focus in a passing league says they have the 31st best pass blocking line. Their defense is 29th against the pass, 29th in sacks, 27th in total defense, 21st in scoring defense. Their wide receivers, don't get me started. And Seattle is the number 1 seed in the tougher NFC than the AFC. And they are number 1 for one reason: Russell Wilson. Listen, Lamar Jackson's fun, is great, and go ahead and vote for him. But he's got help everywhere. Tight ends, O-line, defense, corners. Russell has help nowhere. I mean, yesterday he puts on an absolute clinic, and Seattle's defense is just giving up touchdown after touchdown to backup quarterbacks for Carolina. By the way, here's what's funny about Seattle. There's always been an understanding in the NFL since I've been a kid that for Western teams, Pacific teams, traveling to the Eastern time zone and playing in those early games is always a nightmare. Raiders, Seahawks, Niners, Rams, going to the Eastern time zone, it's the abyss. It's the Bermuda Triangle. Except for one player in the entire sport, Russell Wilson. Seattle's the most geographically isolated sports franchise in the league. They have the furthest road trips, and Russell is 17-4 in the Eastern time zone. That's a better home record than everybody but New England in the NFL in the last 21 games. There's a play late in the game with Russell Wilson. It's classic Russell Wilson. It's 3rd and 11. The defense is doing them no favors. The offensive line breaks down, and he's got to go to his gadget guy or his undrafted receiver or DK Metcalf and this is classic Russell Wilson, making the play and winning the game, sealing it. Just Russell Wilson. What does valuable mean? Valuable to me means important. What other quarterback in this league is a number one seed in what other team? Who could take this team over and make them a number one seed? By the way, I'm not saying Baltimore would be as good without Lamar. I'm not saying that. He's made them spectacular. I mean, they're just great. But he's got help. He's getting coaching help and running back help and O-line help and defense help. He's got the best kicker in the league. I mean, I watched Russell Wilson yesterday, and I'm like, his receiver is a gadget guy. Every receiver you give him works. Do you know the Seattle Seahawks number 3 wide receiver this year? It's Will Dissly. He's been out a month and a half. It's like what Carson Wentz did yesterday. He's got nothing to work with. I am so impressed with this guy. And Seattle is the number 1 seed in the NFC. It is inexplicable. It is it's remarkable to me. It is just remarkable. That's my MVP. Because I've said this forever and ever and ever and ever. Like, what does valuable mean? For years and years and years, I've been saying LeBron's been the most valuable NBA player for 15 years. James Harden will score more points. Giannis will get more rebounds. But what's valuable mean? Valuable is what LeBron James has done to the LA Lakers. They're easily the best team in the league right now. Nobody else could do that. Seattle's the number 1 team in the toughest conference in America. How? Go look at the numbers. Nothing would tell you that. Nothing. The O-line, atrocious. They can't pass block. Defense, can't stop anybody. Special teams, not as good as Baltimore. It's tip of the cap. Russell Wilson. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.